Hello, BookTube. A while ago, David Wiley over on his channel started a video series called Bookshelf Essentials, where he pulls down some book off his shelf that isn't like the others. I think we all have that core of books where you love them all, sure, or maybe some of them are on their way out the door, but some you just treasure. And pull that down and talk about it a bit. And a whole bunch of other BookTube channels have done Bookshelf Essentials since then. And recently David Wiley did one, and then he shirtless Skyped me and said, I said to him, "You're probably mad that I haven't done a Bookshelf Essential lately." And he said, "No, you're a soy boy cuck. I don't want you doing them at all. I hate you because you smell." And then James Holder and Michael K. Vaughan also shirtless Skyped me and said, I said to them, "Well, David Wiley doesn't seem to want me to do Bookshelf Essentials anymore." And they said, "Just as well, because you're a soy boy cuck." But I'm not. So I'm going to do one. I have delayed on my Bookshelf Essentials, but I have one for you now, harking back all the way to the 1970s. And it's this. It's Superman, The Last Son of Krypton by Elliot S., and the S stands for surprise, Magan. It has a very poorly cropped publicity still of the Christopher Reeve Superman movie on the cover, and it also has an inset of photos from that movie. Black and white photos from this movie. The budget certainly existed. The craft service table budget would have been enough to give this book color photos, but nope, it has black and white photos and a poorly cropped cover. It's just a totally ad hoc book club type left-handed exercise thing. So no stuff on the back, no high production value at all, and it doesn't tell the story from the movie. I of course love the movie. It's a Salkind Brothers movie, so at heart it's stupid, but I still love large parts of it. And this book just doesn't care. It doesn't care that the movie is out there at all. Instead, it tells a whole bunch of stories that not only aren't in the movie, but are contradicted by the movie. One of the things that I hated about the Superman the motion picture or Superman the movie is that there's no Superboy. For instance, just to use one example, one tiny little example, there's no Superboy. Clark Kent goes to his fortress of solitude. He grows it out of crystals because the 70s, and then flies off as an adult and appears to the world as an adult. When that isn't true, that didn't really happen. In the only continuity that I think is sacrosanct, there's a super baby, for Pete's sake, much less a super boy. Clark Kent is a teenage superhero named Superboy in Smallville for years before he becomes Superman and moves to Metropolis. This book doesn't care and has Superboy in it, but it also has a sprawling plotline that involves the Guardians of Oa, who are the little blue-green masterminds behind the Green Lantern Corps. It has a whole bunch of canonical characters who, unlike in the movie, here are treated well. They're done respectfully. They are their canonical versions of themselves. In the movie, Lois Lane is a moron. In the books, that's not true. You might think that it is, because how long do you need to see your coworker wearing glasses before you realize he's Superman? But at least in the stories, in the comics, Lois Lane is competent and can spell. That is true from literally her first appearance. There is no question of her being some sort of forlorn, dreamy housewife or an airhead or anything like that. She's a working professional woman from the beginning of Superman. It's true that later writers have her so obsessed with Superman marrying her that she becomes ridiculous. But she starts off ridiculous in the Superman movie. And so on and so forth. Right down to Superman having a sweet silver-haired mother who's still alive. The Kents die. The Kents die. Okay? Superman can't save them. It's not that one of them dies of a heart attack and the other one lives. No. But this book doesn't care. It ignores the movie completely. I have no idea. I ought to study up on this, but I have no idea what the folks at the studio must have made of this. My guess would be that they didn't make anything of it because they weren't paying any attention. This was right around the time when studios were including as just a normal part of their publicity budget ancillary material like books, coloring books, lunch boxes, kids' books, that sort of thing, for their movies, but weren't paying any attention to it. It's not like they were riding herd on it. There were no lawyers looking at it. It was just, you had a production team. You assumed they knew what they were doing, and that would be that. And you weren't thinking of the money that it would make because it was a rounding error. So it was nothing to pay any attention to. You see that all across the board. This is a period when Star Trek fiction, for instance, could still get away with bloody murder. Sometimes literally. It was shortly after this that all of it became syncretized as one gigantic, monolithic, big business. So, if you were to make Superman the movie today, I mean, there are Superman movies today, but movie studios don't do novelizations anymore because people don't read anymore. But if you did Superman the movie today and you authorized a novel and you got a comic book artist, Elliot Maggin was an experienced Superman comic book artist, you got a comic book artist or writer to write the novel, you would pay somebody to see what he did. You would pay somebody to take a look at the finished product before you slapped your property on it and sent it out into the world as an adjunct to a publicity campaign for your movie. Nowadays, if somebody did that, that would certainly happen. And it didn't happen here. For whatever reason, it didn't happen here. Instead, Elliot Maggin writes a gigantic, sprawling comic book story that is wonderful. This is a surreal and wonderful Superman novel. I think easily the best Superman novel that's ever been written. I don't know why there isn't a steady stream of Superman novels. I don't know why we don't get one of them every 2 or 3 months. A prose adventure of Superman. I think probably one of the reasons why is because some bean counter at Paramount says, well, we'd have to read them. We can't let them go out into the wild unsupervised, so we would have to pay close attention to them, and who's got time to read? Nobody reads books anymore, pal. I think that might be part of the reason. Whatever the reason is, we don't get those novels. I wish we did, but there is still, I'd say probably, 100 Superman prose adventures of one kind or another, if you include the Justice League or the Brave and the Bold or whatnot. And I don't think it's ever been done better than this. And I'm not just saying that because Superboy makes liberal appearances throughout this book. I'm mainly saying it because Maggin decided to tell a story here, and the story that he decided to tell quickly takes over the whole book, and it's not Superman, it's Lex Luthor. This is the ultimate Lex Luthor novel. Don't let appearances fool you. And I go back to this a million times. I would be holding up a mass market paperback of this right now, except I have burned through, I don't even know, probably 10 mass market paperbacks of this book. My first one lasted no time at all because I wanted a good look at those black and white pictures, and you have to break the book to look at them. Otherwise, it's going to be 90% gutter. And I didn't want to do that at the time, and I didn't really pay attention to how rough I was being, and it just destroyed the book. The second one, I lasted a few rereadings. No idea what happened to it. The third one I know was destroyed by beagles. I left it on a coffee table that was within their satanic reach, and that was all it took. One mass market paperback of mine was in a collection of boxes that were in Iowa during a great flood of the Mississippi River where I watched on the news, safe from Massachusetts, as the waters got closer and closer to where my boxes were. I didn't make an inventory of those books, but I know that the paperback of this book that I had at the time was in there. And God knows the fate of all of the others. I was happy when I found I believe this was a science fiction book club edition. I'm not 100% sure of that, but it's odd that there's nothing on it other than just this. Maybe this was just the original hardcover. I found this at the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston just a few years ago, and grabbed it because at least it'll be a little more durable. But I do go back to it. I go back to it a lot. This is a Superman I really like, and this is a writer. I automatically think of Elliot S. Maggin in terms of bell bottoms. maybe that's only just. But I go back. This was an era, a writer who got Superman, who got the mythos and knew perfectly well how to play around with it without needing a Crisis on Infinite Earths, without needing to pare it back, without needing to make Superman any less powerful than he is, without needing to get rid of Superboy or change the fact that Superboy and Lex Luthor knew each other as boys in Smallville. This writer just looks at that vast Mort Weisinger, Julie Schwartz panoply of details and thinks, great, more for me to play with. And doesn't worry that it's going to overtax the brains of the poor readers. If you're telling a great story, that's not going to work. That's not going to happen. And it doesn't happen here. This is This is wonderful. So it's definitely a bookshelf essential. I don't have the other one. Elliot Maggin did one more of these, and I think there were novelizations. He did another Superman novel that was brought out in hardcover and then in mass market paperback in conjunction with the second Superman movie, but it has nothing to do with the second Superman movie any more than this one does. Miracle Monday is its own story. And then there are, I believe, novelizations of Superman 3 and 4, but I didn't even bother. The Superman 3 and 4 was so bad as movies that I didn't even bother to look for them. But this I go back to all the time. I have, if you could say that I have a core essential Superman library, which I think I do, although they're not all together, this would definitely be in there. So that's my bookshelf essential for today. Superman, Last Son of Krypton. So I'm going to get back into the habit of making bookshelf essentials, so I'll make another one soon, and I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.